Just for you, let's dive right into the first story. The first one is the title story, and it starts like this, the beginning. I run a small custom furniture shop, nothing fancy, just me. 2 employees and a workshop where we build handcrafted pieces that people can't find in those big box stores. I started the business 5 years ago after leaving my corporate job. The corporate life just wasn't for me. I hated the politics, the backstabbing, and the soul-crushing work. So I took my savings, bought some equipment, and started making the furniture I'd always loved, building as a hobby. The first couple of years were tough. I barely made enough to pay myself after covering expenses and paying my employees. But slowly we built a reputation for quality and business picked up. We started getting orders from all over the state, and our wait list grew to 3 months. Things were finally looking up. That's when she walked in. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March. I was in the back of the shop finishing up a dining table. When I heard the bell on the front door ring, my assistant, who usually handles Wallen, was out sick that day. So I wiped my hands on my apron and headed to the front. The woman standing there looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Designer clothes, perfect hair, massive diamond ring, and the kind of confidence that comes from always getting what you want. She was studying our display pieces with a critical eye. "Can I help you?" I asked. She turned and gave me a once-over, taking in my sawdust-covered appearance. "I hope so. I need a dining table and chairs. Something unique that will impress my friends." She said it in a way that suggested this was the most important criteria. I showed her our portfolio and explained our process. She seemed particularly interested in our most expensive design, a table with intricate inlay work that takes about a month to complete. The price tag was steep, $8,500 for the table and 6 chairs, but she didn't even blink at the number. "I'll take it, but I need it in 3 weeks." I explained that our current wait time was 3 months, but she waved away my concerns. "I'll pay an extra $2,000 if you can deliver it in 3 weeks. I'm hosting a dinner party, and I simply must have it by then." Now I've been in business long enough to know that rush jobs are usually a bad idea, but an extra $2,000 was tempting, and I did have a cancellation that had left a gap in our schedule. I checked with my team, and reluctantly, we agreed to take on the rush job. She wrote a check for the 50% deposit, $5,250, filled out the order form, and left with a smile on her face. I should have noticed the warning signs, how she barely asked any questions about the wood, the finish, or the design details. Most customers obsess over these details, especially for such an expensive purchase. But I was too focused on the dollar signs. We worked overtime for the next 3 weeks. I had to reschedule some other jobs, but we managed to finish her table and chairs on time. The piece was beautiful, maybe one of the best we'd ever made. I was proud of what we'd accomplished in such a short time. The day before her dinner party, we delivered the set to her mansion in the upscale part of town. Her husband met us at the door and directed us to the dining room. He barely gave the pieces a glance as we carefully brought them in and arranged them. He signed the delivery confirmation, handed me a check for the remaining balance. And that I thought it was the end of a stressful but profitable job. I was wrong. The scam unfolds 3 days later. I got a call from the woman. She was furious. "This table is completely unacceptable," she shouted, not even bothering with a, "Hello, the craftsmanship is amateur." At best, one of the chairs wobbled during my dinner party, and the finish on the table is already scratched. I was shocked. We meticulously check every piece before it leaves our shop. But customer satisfaction is important, so I offered to come and take a look. "Don't bother," she snapped. "I want a full refund, all $10,500. That's when alarm bells started ringing in my head, ma'am. I'd be happy to address any issues with the furniture, but I can't offer a full refund on a custom piece that's already been delivered and used. I can repair any problems." I don't want repairs. "This garbage isn't worth fixing either. You refund my money or I'll ruin your business with bad reviews. I know people at the Better Business Bureau, and my husband is an attorney. I dealt with difficult customers before, but something about this felt off. Let me come inspect the issues first, and then we can discuss options." "Fine," she huffed. "Tomorrow at 10 a.m. The next morning, I arrived at her house right on time. She led me to the dining room, pointing out various flaws in the furniture. The wobbling chair had mysteriously lost a screw, through which wasn't possible unless someone had removed it. The scratches on the table were superficial marks that looked like they'd been deliberately made with a key or something similar. And some of the issues she pointed out weren't flaws at all, but natural characteristics of the wood that we discussed when she placed the order. As you can see, this is completely unacceptable. She said, crossing her arms, "I want my money back today." I took a deep breath, ma'am. These issues weren't present when we delivered the furniture. The missing screw appears to have been removed, and these scratches are recent damage, not manufacturing defects. I'd be happy to repair everything at no charge, but I can't offer a refund. Her face turned red. "Were you calling me a liar? Do you know who I am in this community? My husband will sue you for everything you have." "I understand you're upset," I said, trying to stay calm, "but my offer stands. I'll repair any issues, but I can't refund custom work that's been deliberately damaged." She kicked me out of her house, threatening lawsuits, bad reviews, and financial ruin. As I drove back to my shop, my stomach was in knots. I couldn't afford to refund $10,500, but I also couldn't afford a legal battle with some rich attorney, even if I was in the right. When I got back to the shop, I decided to do some research on this woman. Maybe there was something I could learn that would help me handle the situation better. What I discovered made my blood run cold. The investigation I started with a simple Google search of her name. The first few results were society page mentions and charity event photos, exactly what you'd expect for someone of her apparent status. But then I found something interesting, a complaint on a forum for small business owners. Someone had described an almost identical situation with a customer, matching her description right down to the dinner party excuse and the mysteriously wobbling chair digging deeper. I found more stories. A custom drapery maker, a high-end caterer, a jewelry designer, all had dealt with this woman, and all told the same story. She would order expensive custom work, use it once, claim it was defective, and demand a full refund while threatening legal action and bad reviews. I was stunned. This wasn't just a difficult customer. This was a calculated scammer who had perfected her routine, and from what I could tell, it had worked for her many times. Some businesses had caved and given refunds just to avoid the hassle. Others had gone to court, but settled when they couldn't afford to keep fighting. She'd been pulling this scam for years, moving between different types of businesses to avoid detection. Even more concerning, her husband wasn't even an attorney. He worked in finance. The legal threats were completely empty, but they scared small business owners couldn't afford to call her bluff. Armed with this knowledge, I formulated a plan. I wasn't going to be her next victim. The confrontation the next day, she called again, demanding to know when she would receive her refund. I asked her to meet me at my shop to sign some paperwork. She arrived looking smug designer purse in hand, clearly expecting me to hand over a check. Instead, I invited her into my office and closed the door. "I've been doing some research," I said, calmly pulling out a folder, "and I found something interesting." Her eyebrow raised slightly, but her confident smile didn't waver. I laid out printouts of the complaints I'd found online. "It seems you've done this before." "Multiple times, actually. Custom order, claim defects, demand refund. It's quite a pattern." Her smile disappeared. "How dare you? This is defamation. My husband will." "Your husband will? What's way? He's not an attorney. He works at Reynolds Financial." I checked. She stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous. I don't have to listen to these ACC-ations, actually." "I think you do," I said, remaining seated, "because I've documented everything. The perfect condition of the furniture when we delivered it. Your deliberately created defects, your history of doing this to other businesses, and I'm prepared to go public with all of it. If you don't drop this refund demand immediately, you wouldn't dare." She hissed. "I wouldn't also be filing a police report for fraud. It might not lead to charges, but it will create a record. And if enough of your victims do the same thing eventually, it will catch up to you." She grabbed her purse. "You'll regret this. I know people, important people. So do I." I bluffed, including a reporter at the local paper who would love a story about a wealthy socialite scamming small businesses during an economic downturn. Great headline. Don't you think that hit home? Her face paled. Her reputation in the community was clearly important to her. "What do you want?" she asked. "Finally, 3 things first. You drop all refund demands and destroy the check we gave you for the deposit. Second, you never contact my business again. And third, you stop doing this to other businesses. If I hear of one more incident like this, everything I have goes public." She glared at me for a long moment. "Fine, the furniture is garbage anyway. I've already ordered a replacement from out of state." "Of course you have," I said, not surprised at all. "Now I have a release for you to sign acknowledging that all claims against my company are settled and that the furniture was delivered in good condition." She signed it without reading it, which told me everything I needed to know about how seriously she took legal documents. Then she stormed out of my shop. I'd won this battle. But I was still angry. This woman had been preying on small businesses for years. How many had she successfully scammed? How many couldn't afford to stand up to her? The thought kept me up at night, going public. A week went by. I had almost convinced myself to let it go when I got a call from a friend who owns a custom cake bakery. You're not going to believe who just placed an order for a $2,000 wedding anniversary cake. She said, my stomach dropped. Let me guess, blonde designer clothes, massive diamond ring. You know her, I told my friend everything, she canceled the order, but it was clear that this woman had no intention of stopping her scam. That's when I decided to go public, but in a way that wouldn't expose me to legal risk. I created an anonymous post on a local business forum detailing the scam without naming names, but providing enough details that other business owners would recognize her if she approached them. I included all the warning signs. The rush job, the lack of interest in details, the dinner party excuse, the wobbling chair trick, and the scratches that appear after delivery. The post exploded within hours. Other business owners were adding their own experiences in the comments. Some had fallen victim to her, others had narrowly avoided it. The pattern was always the same custom. Order use once claim, defects demand refund. Someone created a private Facebook group for verified local business owners to share information about scammers and problem customers. The woman quickly became Customer X, our community's most notorious scammer. New businesses were warned and veteran owners shared their stories. It became a valuable resource for everyone. A few days later, I got a furious call from her. Take that post down immediately. Everyone knows it's about me. What post? I asked. Innocently, I haven't posted anything with your name on it. Don't play dumb, the business forum post. My friends are asking me about it. If I were you, I said calmly, I'd be more concerned about the police reports that several business owners are filing individually. They might not do much, but together that's a pattern of fraud that might interest the district attorney. There was silence on the other end. We had a deal. I continued. You were supposed to stop you. Didn't actions have consequences? She hung up the next day. I heard through the grapevine that she and her husband had suddenly decided to spend some time at their vacation home. Apparently, the social embarrassment was too much for them. The aftermath, the impact of going public was greater than I could have imagined. Other victims came forward with similar stories, not just about her, but about other scammers using the same tactics. Our business community grew stronger and more supportive of each other. We created an informal network to warn each other about potential scams and problem customers. As for my business, we actually saw an increase in orders. Word got around that we stood up to a notorious scammer, and people appreciated our integrity. Several customers told me they chose us specifically because of how we handled the situation. The woman and her husband eventually returned to town, but their social standing had taken a hit. People were whispering, no one was saying anything directly. There was no proof after all, but the rumors were enough to make people wary of them. About 6 months later, I heard they were moving to another state. A great job opportunity for him, according to the society pages. But we all knew the real reason they'd burned too many bridges here. Time to find fresh hunting grounds. I made sure to warn business groups in their new city. Anonymously, of course. I don't know if it helped, but I hope it did. Looking back, I realized how lucky I was to have discovered her scheme before it was too late. Many small businesses don't have the resources or knowledge to fight back against sophisticated scammers. They just accept the loss and move on, struggling to stay afloat. That's why I continue to be active in our business community, sharing what I've learned about protecting yourself from scams. I've even started a mentor program for new business owners, teaching them how to spot red flags and stand their ground when necessary. The entitled customer thought she could intimidate me into giving her what she wanted. Instead, she taught me a valuable lesson about standing up for myself and my business. Sometimes the right thing to do isn't the easy thing to do, but in the end, integrity wins. And the beautiful dining set I heard through the grapevine that she tried to sell it online for $122,000, claiming it was an exclusive designer piece. No one bought it unless I heard it was sitting in a storage unit waiting for her next scam. What a waste of beautiful craftsmanship. The lessons learned for any small business owners reading this. Here's what I learned. 1, trust your gut. If a customer interaction feels off, it probably is. 2, document everything. Take photos before delivery. Get signatures. Keep all. Communications. 3, do your research. A quick Google search might save you thousands of dollars and countless headaches. 4, build a community, connect with other business owners in your area, and share information about common scams and problem customers. 5, stand your ground when you're right, but know when to cut your losses. 6, sometimes going public is the right move, but be smart about how you do it to protect yourself legally. Most importantly, don't let one bad customer make you lose faith in all customers. The vast majority of people are honest and appreciate quality work. Focus on them, not on the scammers. As for the entitled customer, I like to think she learned a lesson too, but people like that rarely change. They just find new victims. All we can do is make it harder for them to succeed. But I'll tell you one thing, no amount of money is worth your integrity. I could have taken the easy way out and given her the refund. It would have hurt financially, but it would have been over quickly. Instead, I chose the harder path, and I don't regret it for a second. Sometimes standing up to a bully isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting everyone else. They might target in the future, and that's exactly what I did. The next one is entitled People Story. I keep an altar. It's about the size of a bedside table with a drawer. There's usually a couple of glass candles on it, some bowls and cups and imagery of specific saints that I work with Tommy. and I have been dating for a year, and our leases will end around the 1.5 mark. He says he wants us to move into a place together. I was really into this idea. It sounds great to me. Then a few nights ago, Tommy was at my place and he asked what I'd do when we moved in together. He pointed at my altar and said, "Will you just get rid of it?" I said, "Of course not. I'll be taking it with me." And then he said that I couldn't bring the altar, that since he's an atheist, he doesn't want stuff like that in his home. I told him that we don't have to have it in the living room, that I can move it elsewhere. But the living room is just where I naturally put it. He said no, he doesn't want any religious stuff in his home. And then he said that I would be disrespecting his beliefs. And when I told him I wouldn't be okay with living without the altar, he made it seem like I was putting religion ahead of him, like I was choosing religion over him, which I'm not, but I don't think I should have to give up. One of the only religious things I even do. Is this just a sign of long-term incompatibility? I've lived with an atheist before and didn't have any issues, so I know it's not something all atheists are like. Update: I received so much feedback from my last post that I had to thank you all, first off, for reading and listening. I want to clarify a number of things before I continue dating an atheist. As someone who keeps an altar, has never been an issue before. I am not seriously religious, and my beliefs have never stood in the way of anything. There are no rules I follow. It doesn't change my socio-political alignment, etc. It's a dedicated place for me to pay respects to my ancestors and to the saints I work with. It's no different than you setting up a dedicated room for video games. I think Reddit should open up to learning about religion. Beyond direct examples of Christianity or the other big ones, I saw a lot of ignorant comments that clearly don't comprehend why people keep altars. And believe me when I say that there are many of us, and no, we are not mentally ill. That's just silly. Onto the update. I used a lot of the conversations from my post to determine how I would talk with him about it. But it turned out he read my post and he read the comments himself. And even better, he was able to come to me with his concerns and communicate to me what he was worried about and how he felt. We ended up talking for a long time about the issue. And it boiled down to him being a little afraid of FIDE and not understanding my practice. He said he has always been a little uncomfortable about it because he's been trained to see this stuff as weird and creepy and things like that. He asked me to explain it more and to give him some time to read up on what I was doing so he could familiarize himself with it. He took a few days, but in the end, when he came back to me to talk about it, he told me that he was no longer worried and that he was sorry that he had made it into such a big deal. He even asked if it would be okay for him to light a tea light now and then, because he likes the idea of candles as offerings or recognition of the deceased. He bought a stack of books to read up on regarding this stuff, and he is reading a little bit each night. He's very apologetic about how things went down and how he seemed. But I understand that his tone and behavior were absolutely due to him not understanding or knowing about this stuff. Things are going great now, and we are still on track to move in together. The conversation about it, not just being his house, struck him the most. Thank you for your help. Reddit, are you hungry for more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out on any videos. See you tomorrow.